Hello, Zimbabwe. Thank you for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. This is where we have a variety of episodes. Sometimes we talk of crop production, soil analysis and testing, to mention but a few. Today we are going to be looking at cattle production, those breeds that are suitable for our climatic conditions here in Zimbabwe. Today we are here in Norton at TULI farm that is owned by Mr. Doug Forwell. He is a commercial farmer who is into the production of beef cattle for ranching, pure breeds that are suitable and sustainable in our agricultural ventures when it comes to cattle production. Now viewers are going to cross over and listen to him as he talked to me further into detail about these genetics, the TULI genetics that he is very proud of and sure of that if as a country we adopt these genetics, we are going to be profitable and make money from our beef cattle ranching ventures. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. As I have alluded to earlier, today we are here at Norton, where we are going to be looking at beef cattle production. At this point in time, I have taken the liberty of inviting the Managing Director of Forwell Farming, who is Mr. Doug Forwell. Mr. Doug, thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this privilege of being invited here.
Yes. As we get into our discussion, I would like you to highlight a brief synopsis of the TULI breed and this enterprise. When did it begin? How did you get into it?
I've been a career farmer. I attended agricultural college. I have been in the cattle industry for 30 years. The TULI breed has always been my passion. I was born and raised in Matabiland.
Okay.
The TULI breed comes from the TULI area of Zimbabwe, and for us in our business I found the TULI to be the most productive of the breeds for our environment, fertility, temperament. We made specific reference this morning of udder uniformity and teat size. They are extremely adapted to the environment locally, have a high degree tolerance of disease resistance above some of the exotic breeds, and through the genetic selection that we have chosen in our own stud, we found our animals to be of a high fertility, close to 90%, and our weaners are sought after in the market of the beef industry within Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much. I would also want us to get into the capital intensiveness of the program, of this enterprise. You highlighted that you are educated, you do have an educational background in terms of this breed. You also highlighted that you have well over 30 years in this industry. So for those who are out there, they might be inspired by this enterprise and might want to take part. Can you maybe just highlight in terms of capital injections, in terms of the investment? Is it a long-term investment? Is it a short-term investment? What is the enterprise like?
It is a very long-term investment. If you're going to breed cattle, you will not see anything back for 5 years.
Yes.
So I think the biggest downfall is people inject into the operation. They buy some breeding stock on a particular farm, and then as the money squeeze comes in year 3 and 4, when you have no revenue, that's the biggest problem.
Okay.
The size of your farm is very limiting. Bearing in mind in the Highveld, I would work on something from 1 hectare to 5 or 6 head. Midlands probably 1 to 8, and down in Matabiland somewhere between 1 to 11 to as much as 1 to 30. So the biggest downfall of entering into a cattle venture is the overgrazing.
Okay.
And then as soon as you get into an overgrazed situation, your cattle become unproductive.
Yes. Now, I want us to look into issues surrounding maybe the key factors, the fundamental factors that a farmer might want to look into if he wants to get into this kind of project. What are those that they need to take cognizance of, the anchor of beef cattle ranching?
I think once you've chosen your breed, for us it's TULI.
Okay.
Is your farm big enough to sustain a viable business?
Okay.
Once you've done that, thereafter, what are your veterinary protocols? You need to make sure that all your cattle are vaccinated. What is your dipping program? What dipping facilities have you got? And then what handling facilities do you have to handle your cattle?
Okay.
These are all integral parts of running the business.
Yes. Given that it is a long-term investment, Doug, can you maybe highlight some of those enterprises as a farmer that you might want to get into in order to complement the cattle venture that will be already there on your farm?
Well, in our case, our core business is cattle and we finance through borrowings.
Okay.
All I do know is if you're going to venture into a cattle production, it's a very long-term project. It requires significant amounts of money, and the downfall of most people is year 4 and 5 when they don't have the income to sustain what they've currently got to be productively viable.
Okay, finally, Doug, as we round off, I could listen to your employees. You do have a very good working relationship with them where they were referring to you as the coach. You do take them through lessons, you do nurture them so that they are good to the animals and taking care of them. Can you maybe highlight in terms of skills, when you are looking to employ someone to take care of your venture, it's an investment. You will need someone who's skilled, who's properly trained. Can you maybe just highlight to our Zimbabwean farmers in terms of the skills, the nurturing, how you work with your employees to ensure that at the end of the day, your investment is well taken care of?
For me, the staff is my biggest asset. Mm-hmm. They come before the business. And I've empowered our team. They're not just a bunch of employees, they're a team. Every man or every lady in our organization has an equal right to come to me and ask a question or give advice, which is open to the floor each and every morning. Mm-hmm. We say a prayer and thank the Lord mm-hmm. for what the blessings we have. And as you've so graciously seen today, we have a team approach on this farm. Mm-hmm. Our team is an integral cog where every spoke of that cog has to mesh with the other cog. And we don't have to ask people to come to work. Mm-hmm. For them, it's a passion. They come to work, and for that they get justly rewarded.
Okay. As we close, we have come to the end of this segment, Doug. Your final remarks, your parting words, your word of advice, or maybe your recommendations to our farming community. There are those who are into beef cattle ranching and might not be executing their duties or getting maybe the returns that they expect. Your recommendations, your word of advice, your sentiments in this business as we close.
It's a tough environment. Mm-hmm. Economically, we're in a very bad situation. The beef prices are not good. My advice is pay attention to the production, mm-hmm. mitigate as many losses as you can, be in good relationships with your neighbors. Once you're working together with your team, you can mitigate the possibility of fires in this dry season, disease outbreaks, other cattle bringing in disease. Yeah. Yes,
thank you so much. There you heard it, viewers. This is Doug Forwell, who was taking us through the nitty-gritties that a farmer needs to pay attention to when it comes to beef cattle production. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. We are here in the second segment of your program where we are looking at beef cattle production here at Norton at TULI Farm. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer Wadzanai Manyore on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. Leave your comments and suggestions on our YouTube channel. They are very important to us. It's Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on Twitter, and our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness 110. Now, at this point in time, I have taken the liberty of inviting the farm supervisor here at the cattle section, Enoch. Tinokuchingamidza pachirongwa.
Aiwa, tiripo makasimba here tete Wadza.
Tiri nani. Tichipinda muchirongwa chedu ndiri kuti kumashure kwedu tine mabhuru atinawo. Pakutanga tamboona mhou netumhuru nehwai panapa tamira kumberi pemabhuru. Mungataura here nezvemabhuru akanorondokari aripo mabhuru anonzi chii zvakamira sei?
Alright, mabhuru edu atinawo panapa. Tine anonzi pedigree bulls.
Okay.
TULI bulls. Because program yedu tiri TULI breeders.
Alright.
Program yedu yakawandira TULI. Saka tine these are the breeding bulls. Ramuri kuona here ndo baba wePlus.
Alright.
Zihombe racho.
Okay.
Richiterwawo nemamwe masize. Mabhuru edu anogara mupaddocks. Hatitenderi bhuru kugara muhadzi tisati tasvika pabreeding season.
Alright.
Mabhuru anogara ega. We have got a specific time yatinoisa mabhuru muhadzi mumacows.
Ora izvi munenge muchizviitirei izvo?
Tinoitira pakubereka kwemombe. Mombe dzedu dzinofanira kuva neperiod yadzinobereka. Like kana tikati tiri kubhula November, dzese mombe dzedu dzinofanira kupinda under November, so that kana dzakunobereka, kana dzichibereka October, dzese dzinobereka October, so that tinokwanisa kucontrola macalves. Tikati one yabereka nhasi, imwe yazobereka mwedzi wamangwana, imwe yabereka muna December, dzinoita mix up, hatizokwanisi kunyatso kumanager mamhuru edu.
So right, Enoch, tichiri ipapo ndinoda tichitaura nezvemabhuru. Munditauriro chikafu chamunopa mabhuru aya chakasiyana here nechemunopa hadzi, mhou netumburu. Zvakare zvirwere zvinowanzowandira kumabhuru semakutaura kwamaita kuti pane chibaba cheplus chacho chakabata plus panyaya dzekubhridha dzacho. Zvirwere zvinotarisana nemabhuru ndezvipi? Zvikapu zvamunodzipa ndezvipi? Uye kana pari pamvura munopa dzakawanda sei?
Alright, ndoda kupindura pamatanga kubvunza pekuti munomapa chikafu chipi. Mabhuzi aya tinopa inonzi pedigree bull feed. So far as it stands, takatanga kumapa feed 1 month kumashure. Izvi feed yedu tinopa for the meantime, sezvamuri kungoona huswa hwedu hwadzikira tamuchirima. Saka mombe dzedu tinodzipa 5 kg pabhuru. Sana baba vanoda kupiwawo chikafu chakati kuti varambe vakagena fertility. Kuti patinenge takuzoenda mubulling season, vana baba vedu vanenge vakasimba. Nekuti vana baba vanopiwa kubarika kawo. Vanenge vane 25 mombe kana 50 mombe. Saka baba vanofanira kunge vakagwinya. Saka tinopa 5 kg pabhuru rimwe nerimwe kuti tirambe takamaintaina fertility.
Alright. Kana papa nyaya dzezvirwere sekutaura kwandamboita kana mvura, ndiri kuona kuti nedzimwe nguva dzatinopinda mumadroughts chaimo, madrought spells kuti hakusi kutonaya, dzimwe nguva pamwe turukova twakaoma. Pakupa mvura munozvimisa sei? Uye panyaya dzezvirwere, ndezvipi zvirwere zvamunosangana nazvo kumabhuru especially? Uye munotoona sei kuti iri bhuru rinenge riri kurwara? Masainzi amunotarisa ndeapi? Uye zvirwere izvi munozvirapira sei?
Panyaya yemvura, mvura yedu inowanikwa mumatrophy. Tine masolar system, mabores akatikwanira, mvura yedu iri right. Panyaya yemvura tiri right. Kana takuita shortage yemvura, tinosupply nemawater bowser. Tichiisira mombe dzedu, like for now tiri kusupply nemawater bowser. The reason is tine mahead yakakura pano paplus. Saka dzimwe dziri kuside uku, dzimwe dziri these bulls anogara kumhiri kwetara. Saka kana taita challenge yemvura tinosupply nemawater bowser. Asi for the meantime pamvura tiri right. Hatisati ane machallenge pamvura. Pazvirwere, zvirwere zvinotinetsei, because mostly tinovaccinate mombe dzedu. Mabulls tinobaya yavanoti vibro yekudzivirira kuzvirwere zvinogona kana dzikamaunta mamwe mombe dzisiri vaccinated.
Dzinowanikwa when mating paya, padzinosangana paya.
Tinogara tovaccinate kudzivirira kuti zvirwere izvozvo. Kana zviri zvirwere zvimwe zvinana January disease, vana heart water, aiwa tinozvicontrola because taimbobaya yainzi Bimectin, but now pakazouya imwe new product inonzi Eradic Ultra. Dib ratinoshandisa rinouraya mablue ticks, rinouraya mabrown ear ticks. Saka pazvirwere tiri kumeka sure kuti tiri kukwanisa kudzivirira zvirwere zvedu 100%.
Mukupendera taakupedza chirongwa mukoma Enoch, mashoko amungada kutaurawo kune ndiri kuona kuti panapa mune murungu wenyu, muridzi wemombe wamunoshanda naye mune zvakanaka. Kune vamwe vakatarira varimi vedu vechitema vari kuyemurawo kushuvira kuda kuita mabhuru akanaka kudai, vari kuyemurawo kunge vachizoshandirwa nemunhu anoratidza kuti ane unyanzvi, ari kuziva zvaari kutaura sematsananguriro amuri kuita. Mashoko enyu muchidimbu ekupedzisira amungataure kune vakatarira chirongwa.
Mashoko angu ekupedzisira ndinoti vabereki, zvinhu zvinoda kungoisa musoro pamwe, tinoshanda seteamwork. Isusu seFabio Farming tinoshanda as a team. Zvinhu zvedu zvese tinozviita mukuwirirana. Coach vanova ndio managing director, muridzi weplus, tinovati coach. Why tinovati coach? Inyaya yekuti tinoita kurerutsa, bosi tikanya kuti boss vanhu vazhinji vanoziva kuti varungu vanonzi vana boss. Isusu wedu tinovati coach nekuda kuti ndio musoro wechitima, and then tinoshanda zvakanaka, maconditions edu ari right, hatina chatinosora. Saka tinoti kune vamwewo vakatarisa chino chirongwa, tinokurudzirai kuti mombe dzenyu ngadzidhibhisiwe, mombe dzenyu ngadziwane mavaccinations, mombe dzenyu ngadzive nemvura yakakwana. Kuti utano hwadzo hurambe hwakanaka.
Ndinotenda zvikuru mukoma Enoch nekutitsigira pachirongwa mukati mezuva ranhasi.
Aiwa, thank you for that.
There you heard it, viewers. On that note, we have come to the end of the second segment. We are going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in terms of cattle ranching. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. We are here in the third and final segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030, where we leave no stone unturned. We look at crop production and even animal production, which is the case here today. We are at TULI farm, where we are looking at the breeds that are being produced here in Norton. At this point in time, I've taken the liberty of inviting Munei Nyabadza. He is going to be taking us through his journey in cattle beef production, in livestock production. Munei, thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
I would like you, Munei, to take us through maybe a brief synopsis or background of how you ended up here in livestock production, in beef cattle ranching production. How did you get here?
My journey started in 2014 when I enrolled at Watershed College to study my Diploma in Agriculture.
Okay.
So the program went on for 3 years. My final year I was attached at a very good cattle ranch. I would say from there on my passion really grew, like, for cattle.
Okay.
Because of the exposure that was there and the size of the ranch and the type of work that we're doing.
Okay, thank you so much, Munei. We can tell that you do have an educational background as to acquire knowledge on how to undertake this enterprise. I would like you to enlighten our audience there at home, those who might want to get into livestock production, in terms of capital intensity. How capital intensive is it? Secondly, in terms of it as an investment, is it long term, is it short term? Because we might have the youth who would want to participate, but you need to tell them the truth. Is it short term? Do you start to reap profits maybe after 6 months, or you have to be patient? Can you take us through that?
In terms of capital, if you start off with what I would call a decent, when it comes to cattle, for example, maybe if one was to start with about 10 animals, because it is very expensive in terms of feed. You know, winter season, the grasses dry up, and then it becomes difficult to manage their diet because they have to be in good body condition to go through the summer when, you know, and the grasses are now sweeter and they're more palatable.
Okay.
But then it is a long-term investment, and it works out well if you have a cropping venture at the side.
So you need your cropping venture to complement the livestock section.
Yes, especially if you're growing stuff like cereals, maize, wheat, straw. You can always incorporate those ingredients into your diet.
Okay, Munei, I want you to talk about your plans. I understand that you wouldn't want to end up just being a worker or working for someone. You look very bright and you have potential in the agricultural fraternity. What are your plans eventually? And how do you intend maybe to source the capital? Now that you do have the knowledge, you did go to school, you're working for someone, you're doing a work study. What are your plans for the future in this industry of livestock production?
Oh, my plans for the future are to start my own enterprise, but I know that's a bit difficult. But then once you have the knowledge, some of these things are not that
difficult.
You find out that it's not that hard to do it.
Okay.
But then hopefully I'll be able to start my own production system one day. But what I've seen, what can really give you quick profits is a commercial setup.
Okay.
Where you're breeding cattle for slaughter, and then you supply the meat market, the beef market, yes.
Okay. Now, Munei, what are the key fundamentals that a youth out there or a beginner should take cognizance of if he's going to get into livestock production? What are the key fundamentals or the guidelines that you would want to tell our audience there at home?
Well, the first thing is humbling yourself. Because you will be on the farm with people with different backgrounds in life and stuff like that. You just have to accept the situation that's on the ground in order for you to grow as an individual.
Okay.
And then the second thing, you have to be passionate about agriculture in general.
Okay.
Yes. So it takes hard work and determination and how passionate you are.
Okay.
And you can really go places if you have those two things.
So your day-to-day activities
Yes.
at the farm that you are working, what do they incorporate? I like that you alluded the fact of humility and humbling yourself, because you're going to be interacting with farm workers, some that do not have an educational background as same as you, or even just a background, family background. Those are different, but you'll be interacting with them daily, on a daily basis. So maybe can you take us through your day-to-day activities from when you wake up to when you go to bed? What is it like?
Well, it's not, well, it's what I would say, it takes a lot. But then you wake up in the morning, like for example where I'm working, you wake up in the morning, the first things that I have to do is make sure that the bulls are fed.
Okay.
So they're being fed 100 kgs of cubes. As soon as we feed the bulls, we don't use the paddock system where we work. We use an ultra high density grazing system.
Okay.
It's like where you use electricity to control your grazing.
Okay.
Yes, so it's a much easier method of controlling your grass and how you manage your grass throughout the dry season. So after we do that, we have to build our paddocks, 2 a day.
Okay.
1 in the morning, and then we change them like later on during the day.
Okay.
Yes, because we peg reasonable areas that we can see they can graze, but we don't peg a big portion because we'll be wasting our own grazing.
Okay.
Yes.
Then finally, Munei, your word of advice to the youth in Zimbabwe. Some of them might have access to capital. Some of them are passionate. They intend to take livestock production. What would you want to say to the youth in Zimbabwe? Your sentiments, your views on livestock production, aligning it to what the youth might want to work on in the future?
Well, the first things I would say is acquire some form of knowledge.
Okay.
Be it a diploma, a degree. If you want to go further, that's up to you. And then once you've done that, having some exposure into the industry is also very important.
Okay.
Yes. And for those that have capital, I suppose they have a better advantage of expanding your network, who you associate with. There's a lot of people that are now entering this field.
Okay.
So if you have the capital, it's not that difficult for you to bring like-minded people together.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Munei. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Okay, thank you.
There you heard it, viewers. I was joined by Munei Nyabaza here, a youth who's undertaking several tasks along the value chain of our agricultural industry here in Zimbabwe. He is taking his studies and even his work study at a farm where they specialize in beef cattle production. From me, your host, Wadzanai Manyore. I'm also on Instagram. It's W Manyore, and the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.